I promise we're still alive. We are back, baby. Welcome to Primetime Carolina. I am your host, Tanner Blue, along with my co-host, Dave LaFave, in the flesh, back from the dead. We are here, baby, and we got a lot to talk about, and I'm pretty excited for the show. Dave, what's going on, brother?
Tanner, back from the dead? Who died, Tanner? Legends never die. We didn't go anywhere. What are you talking about?
Hey, man, we've
We
been
are.
low key. We've been letting the news build up, and we're getting ready to pop off.
That's facts. That's facts. So much to talk about, man. It's been forever. It's been forever.
So much. We haven't done a video since the Super Bowl, been about a month ago. And, we were just, kind of just letting some stuff happen, just really letting the news build up. Had a couple slow weeks here and there. Now that free agency is here upon us, now that potential trades are upon us, now that the draft is coming, they just had the combine. I mean, we got a lot of more stuff. We got a lot more stuff to talk about. So I feel like we just took a little bit of time, but now we're back full force, and we've got a ton of things to talk about to get to. So for anyone that's been refreshing the Primetime Carolina YouTube channel for new content, don't you worry, because when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be right there in your face.
Tune in. No, I've been refreshing it nonstop, waiting for something to drop. Here it
I
is.
know I keep refreshing it, waiting for Dave to just post a video, but he won't do it without me.
Dude, I just can't. It's not the same without you, man. It's just not the same.
I understand. So obviously we got a lot to talk about. We've got Deshaun Watson. We've got Christian McCaffrey maybe getting traded. We've got other players maybe getting traded. We've got NFL news that's going on. We got combine to talk about. We've got NFL draft to talk about. I mean, there's stuff all over the place. We got restructuring deals to talk about. We got guys we've already re-signed to talk about. So we're going to try to get through all that as much as we can tonight. So it might be a long show tonight, but just stick in with us. It's going to be worth it, I promise. Starting out with the show, as you can see here on the main screen, we're talking about the man, Deshaun Watson. I've got a lot to say about this, and I'm sure you do as well. To, kind of break things down if you don't know what's going on, if you've been living under a rock, to give you a Cliff Notes version, he's got these allegations about potential, sexual misconduct, whatever you want to call it, things like that, within these women at a massage parlor that's happened. He's got about, 20-something cases or 20-something allegations, whatever it is.
It's enough that it's concerning. It's in the 20s.
So it is a high number. So obviously he didn't play last year. And if you've been keeping up with the Panthers and the Deshaun Watson case, if you watched any of our previous episodes, there was probably once every couple of weeks until after the trade deadline where, hey, Panthers are in play. The Panthers are interested. The Panthers are this. The Panthers are that. The Panthers are ready to make an offer. And we've been the only team throughout this whole process that has been ready from the beginning until now to strike a deal. Before I go on my tangent about how I feel about it, we don't know anything concrete yet. Tomorrow will be Friday when this episode comes out, and we will have a little bit more information, some insight as to what's going on. He's going in front of a grand jury for some of these things. We won't have a definitive answer, but we will have, some clarity in some areas. So, Dave, I'm going to start with you. First off, just give me your thoughts on the situation as a whole and, the Panthers' interest has been since last summer. It's been over a year. I mean, what are your initial thoughts on everything that's transpired over the past year involving him?
Yeah. So this is something we have been talking about. I mean, it feels like forever. I'm thinking before the draft last year is when, some of this stuff originally started coming up, and it's like it has not gone away since then. The Panthers and Deshaun Watson have been just connected the entire time. There were reports that the Panthers had a deal in place and Deshaun Watson wouldn't waive his no trade clause. I don't know if that's true, but people have said that. But obviously that was, going back to, last offseason or whatever. But, there's so many layers to this. Obviously, it's a very complicated situation. If you're talking about pure football, if you're talking about talent, if you're talking about quarterback, if you're talking about arm strength, if you're talking about playmaking ability, if you're talking about the ability to lead a team, take a team to the playoffs, win playoff games, do more with less, which he's done in the past. He's a superstar quarterback. When he is on his game, he's probably top 5 at least in the NFL. So it's so hard to look at that and just, say I'm not interested. But obviously with this legal situation, 20 is a lot of anything. 20 is a lot of hamburgers, 20 is a lot of high fives. And when you're
Except for
talking about
$20, that doesn't get you much gas right now.
that does not get you much gas right now, but 20 is a lot of what charges, I guess. Are they all separate charges, or 20 over 20 women? That's a lot of women who are
Correct.
calling your name in the wrong way. That being said, we all know that when this first started, I'm not saying the guy is innocent, but I am saying when all this started, some of the timing was very shady. It all kind of came out after he started saying, I don't want to be a Texan anymore. And then I think one of the lawyers involved somehow knew the owner of the Texans or something. So it sounded real shady when it started, but obviously if the guy has done some horrible things, you don't want to just brush it off like it's nothing, and you don't want to say anyone's a liar, but it's a very complicated situation. If everything comes out that, he's okay legally and everything like that, then obviously you want him on your team. But with the current situation he's in, we still have to keep a wait and see attitude, even though that some of these trade talks are picking up. And there was something else that came out that said Tepper had hired a private investigator to look into this for him, to see if it was going to come out okay or not. And apparently, whatever that investigator told Tepper made him feel like he needs to keep pursuing him, because he's been persistent the entire time when it comes to trying to work out a Deshaun Watson trade. And from what they're saying now is David Tepper has the Panthers, quote unquote, all in on trading for Deshaun Watson. So if nothing else, he believes Deshaun Watson is going to be fine in the end of this, and he wants to make him a Panther.
Well, before I get started here, I do want to say that obviously we don't know the answers yet. There could be answers tomorrow after this episode comes out, but I want to split this in two halves. I want to look at this, like you said, from a football perspective and then a real life personal perspective. So I'll start with the personal perspective first. In no way am I condoning, I don't think anybody is condoning any kind of behavior like that, or willing to look past that. Obviously, we don't know what's true and what's not true, what's real and what's fake. We don't have any concrete information. In today's age and information, I do want to say this, that we must hold out until the very end when all the evidence and everything is laid out on the table, because a lot of times, not saying it's not true, it very well could be true, but I want to see everything play out. I want to see all the evidence. I want to have everybody, say their piece and have their moments. That way we can get to the final conclusion and we can get to what we believe is the truth. That is what we want at the end of the day, the truth. So if this stuff is true, obviously it's a no-go. You can't do it. You can't go toward it. You're going to lose a lot of fans. You're going to piss a lot of people off. And at the end of the day, you're just not going to look like a wholehearted good person. And I think that would be a terrible move. I don't think the Panthers would do it. And even if, and another thing to do is that if it does end up being true, there's potential, obviously suspensions, maybe jail time, this and that. So it's not going to happen. So if it is any slight of the instance true, deal's over. Now, back to the football perspective, and this is purely football I'm talking about. If you were looking at this from a football perspective, I've tried to tell people this that are Panthers fans, people that are just NFL fans, if you have the chance to trade for a elite quarterback, you must do it. I don't care about the picks. I don't care about we have to give up Christian McCaffrey. We have to give up Brian Burns. When you have a chance to draft an elite quarterback, you do it. This is the game. This is the game nowadays in the NFL. You have to have an elite quarterback to have any chance of winning big games. Look at some of these teams. Look at the Titans. Complete stacked team built around them. No quarterback. They don't go far in the playoffs. Look at the Colts, who just traded Carson Wentz. Completely stacked team. They don't have a quarterback to get to the playoffs. You have to have that guy. And people keep saying, oh, you can't trade the whole team to get rid of a guy. Yes, of course you can't trade the whole team, but you got to do what you got to do to get your guy. You got to do it. And if this stuff clears up and he's good to go and he can play and the Panthers can make a deal, they have to do this. They have to do this. And that's my final point, is that if you have a chance to make an elite quarterback, you do that deal, because when you start winning and you can see consistency at the quarterback position, all that nonsense is going to go away. We can take care of the rest. I know we don't have a ton of draft capital, maybe not a ton of cap space, but we can figure out the rest. Once you get that one guy in place, everything else you can put in place around him, but you need the one guy. If you get your guy, you got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of echo what you're saying, if he checks out and everything's fine, you have a chance to pull off this trade, you have to go for it. I agree. When you have a guy like that under center, that's really what starts your championship timetable. Once you have that star quarterback, that's when you have those 10 years to build something around him. You can build, like you said, the Titans are a great example. You can build a great team around the quarterback, but if you don't have that guy that's going to go win you games, it makes it very, 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 very difficult to go anywhere in the playoffs. But if you have that guy in place, even if you lose a Christian McCaffrey, a Brian Burns, a couple of first-round picks, you have the next 10 or 12 years to start building around him and trying to pick up some of that momentum. And when you have a guy like that, you always feel like you have a shot. Every year, you're going to feel like you have a shot. Look at what we did with Cam Newton for years. Even if we didn't realize it at the time, most of those teams, especially on offense, were horrible. Those teams, you can make those teams in any offseason with the blink of an eye. He played with one really good tight end, and then the end of Steve Smith and the beginning of DJ Moore. Other than that, he played with guys who went to other rosters and either couldn't make the roster or barely contributed. Practice squad players, a lot of them. Many of the names who left we never heard of again. And that's because we had that guy at quarterback who made that much of a difference, who you could put him out there with a bunch of scrubs and he was still going to go win. He was still going to go put you in a position to make the playoffs. We won the NFC South 3 straight years with very, very mediocre talent around Cam Newton in a good defense. Or some defenses were great, some were pretty good, some were just whatever. But, it really solidifies your point that if you have that guy, that buys you 10 to 12 years to try different things around him and see what works and experiment and try to put together a team that works, a team that can get into the playoffs and get some momentum and hopefully make a championship run. But if you don't have that guy, well, then you're just sitting there building great teams, and it's most likely just going to be wasted because it's not going to go anywhere.
They call it quarterback purgatory, and it's not a good place to be because
I prefer to call it quarterback hell because that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel just okay. It feels pretty damn bad.
Because listen, you look at a team like Tennessee, every single fan of that team, maybe besides Ryan Tannehill's family, knows that they've got a damn good team, but when it comes to make a play in the playoffs, they don't think they have the guy that can do it. And they know that. And they know that going into every year that they're going to make the playoffs and have a good run. As long as they got Derrick Henry and as long as they got a good defense, they'll be contenders, but they will not be there at the end. I'm not saying offensive line doesn't matter. But damn, Joe Burrow just went to the Super Bowl with a piss poor offensive line, a really, really great receiver, and an average defense. And you know why? Because when it mattered most, he stepped up and made plays. He's in what? He was in his second year? His
Yep.
second year. I mean, people don't understand. I don't get it. I understand. They don't want. Here's someone wanted to bring up. People say, "Oh, we'll give up 3 first-round picks." If you go back, and I know this is still really early, if you go back, the Panthers' 3 first-round picks: Brian Burns, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn. I know J.C. Horn was hurt this year, unfortunately. If anywhere in between those picks, they say, "Hey, I could get rid of 1 or 2 of those guys and trade for Deshaun Watson," you best believe I'm the first person to click send on that trade.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, Tanner, first of all, that's a good point, and I agree with you because, I guess what I would say almost to solidify what you're saying is just because you have first round picks doesn't mean they're going to hit. Those 3 guys you just named are 3 good players. Those are picks that turned out well. What about first round picks spent on Kelvin Benjamin and Vernon Butler and Jeff Otah? Those are wasted first round picks. We don't know what these guys are going to be. We could miss on our next 10 first round picks. I mean, historically, we've done pretty well with first-round picks, but my point is you don't know who these players are. You know Deshaun Watson is a superstar. If you can trade for a superstar for 3 unknown players, I mean, easily.
exactly, and that drives the point home. People, they get obsessed with these picks, and I get it. They're young, they've got potential, and rookie contracts. Yeah, absolutely. Not every first-round pick is a home run. It doesn't matter where you're picking at. And if you got a chance to give some of those up for a proven commodity at the quarterback position, I don't know, man. That is a tough deal to walk away from if you're asking me. So I don't know what all the deals what the trade would encompass. I would imagine at this point that the Panthers probably already have the specific deal that they would do if this all clears out. Let's say tomorrow, for instance, clear, everything's good to go, he's good to play. They already have got their trade package ready to go to Houston. I don't know who it's going to be, but I would imagine they have a pretty good idea of who would be in that package.
Absolutely. I'm trying to look at the Russell Wilson trade because I would imagine it would look something like that. I don't remember if it was 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks, and a couple other picks and some players. I mean,
listen, you can't give up any second and third round picks if you ain't got any, all right?
that's facts. Bro, we don't need to draft. Why? What's the point of drafting?
We don't. Hey, if you don't have any picks, then you can't trade. You can't give them up, so you're good.
Yeah, I would imagine it would. It's hard to tell because it's such a slimy situation. It's hard to guess what it would take as far as a trade goes and what that would look like. But let me reemphasize to anybody listening that we are talking about the innocent Deshaun Watson. We are not talking about a Deshaun Watson who's done any horrible things. So we will let it play out the way it plays out. And if he comes out of this as an innocent man or a man without a felony, then we can talk football. Right now we're just talking X's and O's and the player Deshaun Watson. So
that brings up a good point. Obviously, with anyone with any sort of common sense would know that's how we're speaking about the situation. Let's flip the coin here on the other side. Let's say, for instance, this doesn't go through. He's, everything's true. He's not going to get traded. He's, he's no longer in the picture. You've got the Panthers quarterbackless. They have the 6th pick in the draft. That leaves guys around like Jimmy Garoppolo. That leaves guys around like, I don't know, maybe potentially Kirk Cousins. That leaves other guys around, veteran stopgap quarterbacks. And then you look at guys like Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. There's a lot of potential there. And for these scenarios, saying we're not sure what's going to happen, but if they don't get Deshaun Watson, I would likely say it's going to be a quarterback that's drafted What are your thoughts on that? If Deshaun Watson is a no-go, where is your head and your heart pointing towards?
Okay, so if we're talking strictly quarterbacks, honestly, I'm not sure um my first instinct or my first desire, I don't know, would be honestly probably just stack the offensive line. The plan we talked about before, just stack the offensive line and tank for one more year with Sam Darnold. Then go after Bryce Young next year or CJ Stroud. I'm more of a Bryce Young guy. But anyway, that would probably be number one on my list. Number two would be Malik Willis. He's the only quarterback in this class I really have any interest in other than what's his name? Strong. Oh, I forgot his first name. Carson Strong, I think, from Nevada. I like him. I think he's from Nevada. I like him, but I think he is going to be probably like a fourth round pick or so. I like his. I like. He seems to be one of those guys that's kind of got that it, kind of like Joe Burrow, just kind of came up from the dirt. I saw an interview with him. He talked about how he was sixth or seventh on the depth chart when he got there, and he worked his way up and put in his time and didn't back down and fought and clawed, and he's got a good arm. He put up good numbers. He did a lot of good things. I like the guy. I something about him I like. If he fell to, the fourth or the fifth round, I would say pick him and roll the dice, see if he can become something. But other than him, Malik Willis is pretty much it for me in this class. Kenny Pickett, I'm not sold on Kenny Pickett, which I pray to God we don't draft him. I feel like he's got bust written all over him. Sam Howell, I'm not big on. And I know you're a Carolina guy, so you might be able to speak on that better than me. But I've never been real big on him. He definitely has a lot of talent, and I see that. But I think there's some things I saw from him in college that I don't know if I can excuse, and I know they're not going to transition well into the NFL. So obviously those are things he can fix, but I just don't see him fixing them. Honestly, he kind of comes off to me as kind of a dick. I mean, he's just – I think best case scenario, you're getting Baker Mayfield out of him, and Baker Mayfield. So, and then – sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling, but to finish off what I'm saying, my third point, or I guess my third option, as far as journeyman quarterbacks or quarterbacks that are available around the league right now, honestly, none of them I'm really high on. If we're gonna go for any of them, it's got to be Deshaun Watson. If not, we might as well just wait and draft our own guy, or draft our own guy this year. If it's Malik Willis. Honestly, this is going to sound crazy. Out of all the guys that are available, to me, the best option is probably Mitch Trubisky. And I say that because if you get him and pair him with Malik Willis, you can use him as your bridge quarterback for a year or two while Malik Willis gets right and ready to play. And, because he's been a failure as a starting quarterback in the past, kind of like Sam Darnold, you really only have to give him one shot. And then people are going to be like, all right, you can kick him to the curb if you want to. And I think it would work out for him as well, because if he did well, then we can move on to Malik Willis and he can move on to another team and everybody's happy.
I see your point, and I kind of woke up from a slumber there when you said Mitch Trubisky, and I am a Carolina guy. You got me right, but holy shit. But I do see your point in terms of, hey, short 1 year deal, we draft a guy, and that's because we drafted a guy. Like right. Like last year, if we would have picked, obviously we already traded for Darnold. If we would have picked, Mac Jones or Justin Fields, it'd have been the same thing. Like, okay, we traded for this guy, but we got our guy in the wing, so it won't take long. I understand that mindset. For me, I agree with your number one. If Deshaun Watson does not happen, you got to go offensive tackle, or you trade back or whatever you want to do and still pick up an offensive tackle. But if you're at the 6th spot and you've got a chance to grab an elite tackle, guard, center, anyone that's on that offensive line other than right tackle, I'm with it. But my point is this. You got a guy in Matt Rule who is basically going to get canned if he does not make some sort of major improvements this year. I don't see – if he's going in with that mindset, no way in hell he's rolling in with Sam Darnold and just say, hey, I drafted an offensive tackle. Give me another year so I can draft a quarterback. It ain't going to happen. So I'm in the mindset that if you do pick a quarterback, I like the Malik Willis, pick. And here's my explanation why. Listen, if no quarterback is a surefire bet. None. And people thought Trevor Lawrence, I know he's only been there 1 year. I'm not trying to say he's a bad player because he's not. People thought Trevor Lawrence was an absolute given to be a beast. He had a very pedestrian year last year. Granted, he was on one of the worst teams in the NFL, and his coach sucked. But he didn't look Superman, number 1 pick. It just not a lot of good things happen. So you never know. You never know what you're going to get. If you're going to go for a guy and you're sure and you think he's going to be your quarterback and he is that much of a possibility, I'd rather flop and take a guy with potential than take a guy that is going to be maxed out as a game manager type player. I'd rather try to go for the gusto and get the best player possible, sort of like Josh Allen. Josh Allen had the most potential out of anybody in the draft, but people didn't think he might not live up to that. Now he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So if you're going to pick somebody that is got the best chance to be the best, not someone that is kind of already developed and they're kind of already where they're at.
Yeah, and I think the Josh Allen comparison is probably pretty good for Malik Willis because when Josh Allen came out, it was the same thing. This guy is so raw, but he's got so much talent. If we can put it all together, he could be one hell of a player, and that's what's happened. And I think Malik Willis is kind of the same way. I don't know how much of the Senior Bowl and the Combine you saw, but both of those separate events, or I guess the whole week for the Senior Bowl and then the weekend or whatever it is for the Combine, Malik Willis was the star of the show. Especially in the quarterback group. Even in shorts and throwing the ball around, to me, he looked like the best quarterback of the bunch, and it didn't really look close in my eyes. And then you look at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he had a handful of highlight plays in that game, and he really didn't play that much. And he was the story all of practice, the whole practice week. To me, if the Panthers go Malik Willis at number 6, I'm perfectly fine with. Honestly, that's probably my number 2 scenario. I kind of see it 2 different ways. You can either get the quarterback and then spend the rest of the draft picking up offensive linemen, or you can just spend the whole draft picking up offensive linemen and then get the quarterback next year. And obviously, like we said, that's if they don't try to pick up a Deshaun Watson in a trade. But
correct. And
between this year and next year, if we don't make that trade, we're going to draft our next franchise quarterback.
Correct. So, and I pretty much agree with everything you're saying. You can either pick, and this is barring a Deshaun Watson trade, you can go either or. You can go this year to do the O-line, or you can go this year to do the quarterback, next year to do the O-line, or vice versa. My only thing is that Matt Rule now is not going to give 2 shits about the Panthers next year if they suck in the future. And I can see that's what scares a lot of people is some of these coaching staff and these guys up front, maybe not Fitterer, they're not going to be concerned about next year because they might not be there next year. They're worried about now because they're trying to save their jobs now. And that's the only thing that could scare me. It'd be different if this was year 1 in the rebuild and we said, hey, we're going to, we have a chance to go this route because you got to give the guys chances to groom, chances to grow and things like that. And, give him a couple years to do things. But you're at the position now where you got a guy, he's got to win now or else he's gone, which honestly, I think he might not even give a shit if he's gone because apparently he can just go back to college and make more money if he wants. So who really knows? That's my only thing that I'm worried about, I would say.
Yeah, the idea that he might not even want to be an NFL coach is definitely a fair point because that's, been a speculation here in the last few months is whether or not he even wants to be an NFL coach. But to make, I guess, a counter argument to what you were saying before about he's a lame duck coach, he's getting fired this year, regardless of what happens. Do you think it's feasible that he can make the argument that he just drafted his franchise quarterback? Tepper goes to fire him, and he says, no, I just drafted this guy this year. You got to give me some more time with him. He's so raw. All we know about Malik Willis is that he's talented but raw. He's so raw. I need more than just one season to turn him into the player that he can be. And we all know that Matt Rule is basically a used car salesman, so he's good at selling things. I think he could convince Tepper that he needs more time if he gets a guy like Malik Willis. But, obviously I hear what you're saying. I find it hard to believe he makes it out of this season, but just to make an argument, I guess.
I think you're right in saying that he probably could convince him because, he's been able to convince him this far. But if there wasn't some sort of improvement within, it might not even be winning games. It would just have to be on a level of the team morale and the slow progression of him as a quarterback.
Tanner, the team was so unwatchable. At times last year, dude. So I hear what you're saying.
So that's what I'm saying is for next season, this upcoming season, let's say he drafts Malik Willis, and okay, we don't win a lot of games. That's fine because if he's the guy, then I'm okay with it. But if the team is quitting on him like they did last year, I don't care who you draft. No way this guy can come back. It's more than just that one guy. You got it. And he's not even drafting the guy. He is a say, but Scott Fitterer is the guy that's drafting the guy.
So, I don't know about that, Tanner. Based on the way things have gone and some of that draft coverage from last year, it really felt like Matt Rule had more say than anybody.
He did. And if you notice this season, it's been the complete reversal. Fitterer's been up on camera. He's been a lot more showing his face and making his demands known. And here's the thing and we'll talk about this next. I still like Fitterer. I think he's a better GM than what's being displayed out there because I feel like you were saying, he never really has had direct control over what he's supposed to do because he's got Matt Rule in his ear saying this is what we should do. And that's his job as a GM. He gets what the head coach wants, unfortunately. But what I'm saying is, you need to see some sort of improvement, not just from the quarterback, but within the team's morale so they could believe in him and to keep going because you can draft a good quarterback maybe, but if the team is just a complete letdown and they just do not care, and we see the effort and the morale like we saw at the end of the season last year, man, there's no way you can go into that with another year. That's just absolutely devastating.
Yeah, I'm with you. The thing about Fitterer being the GM is, and I don't agree with this, but I know it happened, is basically Matt Rule played a role in the GM search. Basically, Matt Rule picked his own boss, which is absurd, which is just ridiculous. It's supposed to be the other way around. The GM needs to pick the head coach that best fits the team and what they're trying to build. But I guess that's neither here nor there at this point because it is what it is. But because of that, I have a hard time believing that Matt Rule doesn't have at least most of the control when it comes to calling the shots as far as the roster goes.
I would agree with you. I think he does. I think that I would hope for, and I would think somewhere within the organization, somebody at least this offseason will step up and be like, look, you don't know clearly as much as you think. I'm sure somebody would speak up and something would I just feel like Fitterer probably has more control this offseason than last. And
I would agree. That's got to be the case.
I would hope that you know, someone within the organization, maybe the janitor who's getting paid absolutely nothing, who's got nothing to lose, would be like, look, you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. You got to get somebody else in there and control this thing because this guy, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Dude, the janitor loves it. There's no one in the stadium. He doesn't have to clean up after anybody.
It's great. He doesn't have to do anything after the games. He doesn't have to show up.
Yeah, dude, there's nobody there. There's nobody there to clean up after. But
So,
no, to kind of go off your point from before, that's totally true. Like the morale of the team by the end of the year, which obviously it was a losing season and it tends to be like that, but the team had, I mean, even, halfway through the year, some of the losing streaks the team went on, starting out 3-0 and just falling apart. And it was just obvious that they just were not engaged. It didn't feel like they believed in what they were doing at all. And a lot of them, these are professional football players. They show up on the first day of training camp and they look around and they're like, all of these coaches were coaching in the American Conference last year. These aren't NFL coaches trying to tell them stuff. And like, dude, I know more than you. I've been in the NFL for 6, 7, 8 years and you just got here. So I'm on record, going back when we looked at some of these coaching hirings, I support the fact, or I like the fact that Matt Rule is basically admitting that he made some mistakes with the people that he hired last year or last 2 years. And he finally went and got some NFL experience on his coaching staff. And I think that's going to make a bigger difference than people realize, because I think that a lot of what we were doing last year was just, well, even when we were winning, it was almost like a story, like among, NFL media. The Panthers are running a college defense. How are these NFL teams can't handle this college defense, which sounded great when we were 3-0. And all of a sudden we were, whatever we finished 6-11 or whatever. And it's like, all right, your college defense ain't working so well, guys. So, I give credit to Matt Rule for making some changes because it was obviously needed. And I think it's going to make a difference. Will it make enough of a difference that it's going to save any jobs or win us any games? Probably not. I mean, we're going to be pretty bad and our schedule's pretty tough. But you never know. I mean, we're in a really bad division this year, it looks like. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and my final point to what I said about team morale was that at least back in the early years of Cam Newton's career, the first couple of years that did make the playoffs, we didn't win a lot of games, but you could tell that people were invested in watching him play and believed in him, and in at least the end of the season, players were believing in Rivera, and you would see some sort of improvement. Last year was, listen, I will watch any game, but last year there were a couple games that I barely tuned into because it was just that unbearable to watch. You just couldn't sit there and waste your time watching what we were watching.
dude, it was painful, man. I don't think I've ever missed a Panthers game. Like I'm really committed, so I made myself watch them because I'm super committed. But damn it, man, that was ugly. My eyes were bleeding. I was, drinking so much I was falling over to cope with the pain sometimes. But
Hey, I don't blame you. It was tough. It was tough. I see you've got a tab pulled up here that says tight end contracts and salaries. I know where this is headed. I've been waiting for this one for a while.
Well, you know what, Tanner? That's why I brought this up, because you know what? I'll let you start, and then I'll talk about it. I'll talk about what my thoughts.
Scroll down some more. Is this updated as of like?
I don't know. Yeah, it is.
Yep, it is. Okay. So where do I even start? Listen, I like Scott Fitterer a lot. I like Ian Thomas to a certain extent. 3 years, what, $17 million? Are you kidding me? I understand that apparently the tight end position is at a hot market right now. Guess what else is at a hot market
It's
right now?
inflating. It's inflating like gas prices right now.
Guess what else is
It's the
high right
gas.
now and
What's
hot?
high right now?
The car market,
Oh,
the
sorry.
housing market, the fucking the gas price market. Everything is hot right now with high prices. That doesn't mean that you go and accept that high price and give in. I understand Ian Thomas is a solid blocking tight end. Listen, I've gone on record saying multiple times, maybe not on this show and just speaking to other people, I thought Ian Thomas had a lot of potential to be a really, really good player. He was a late fourth round pick. He was raw, but his size, he looked like he could be something, maybe like an Antonio Gates light, something. I don't know. He could be somebody. He's not turned out to that at all. He's a good veteran. He's a good blocker, but you can't justify this contract to me. You can't. I don't care how good of a blocking tight end. I don't care who's good at what the tight end market is. I understand you have to pay certain people what the market sets them at. I could care less. You could pick a tight end in the seventh round to be a blocking tight end. This is a dumb move. F for me on this move. I can't justify this. I can't do it. You talk about trying to build cap and trying to save this, and now we're going back. We're restructuring contracts and backloading deals to clear up cap. And this was our first move of free agency. I don't have a problem bringing him back. The money is garbage.
All right. I'll say this.
Nope.
when when this news broke, you and I exchanged a few text messages, and we basically agreed on everything you just said. And when I saw this deal, whatever it is, 3 years, 18 million, I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? Ian Thomas has done nothing to earn this money. This guy does not deserve this. Why would we pay him so much? But then I brought up this sheet we're looking at here. And I'm starting to think maybe it's not so bad, you know. If you look at some of the tight ends he's around as far as the pay scale goes, and some of these guys who are just above him, haven't received second contracts yet, so those numbers would be a lot higher once they get paid. It's not as bad as I thought, especially when you think it's, I believe, a 3-year deal. So once you get to the end of that, it's time to re-sign Tommy Trimble, and then he's our star tight end, ideally. So, and then also to go off of that, we know because we've seen it, it hasn't always been there. The production hasn't always been there. We've seen what Ian Thomas is capable of, especially during his rookie season, when we thought he was going to be, like you said, Antonio Gates light. I agree with that. When I watched him as a rookie, that's exactly who I thought of. I thought of Antonio Gates. That's exactly who he looked like. The potential is there, okay? And the Panthers just brought in Ben McAdoo to be the offensive coordinator. He's very big on using the tight ends in the play action game, especially vertically, which I think could be a usage that's in Ian Thomas's skill set. We'll see what happens. I agree, Ian Thomas probably didn't really deserve a big contract, but this contract's not really as big as I thought it was, especially if you think by the time this contract's over, some of these names that you see here right above Ian Thomas, they're going to get paid again, and the tight end market's going to get reset again. So in 3 years, he's going to be a lot closer to the bottom. I don't think it's as bad as it felt when I first saw it. And I do think there's potential for this to be a good bargain for the Panthers if he's able to produce in Ben McAdoo's new offense. So I totally get where you're coming from. I felt the same way until I sat back and thought about it a little bit. I don't hate it as much as I thought I did.
I appreciate you trying to talk me off the ledge. I like some of the points you made. I agree. His rookie season, we did see some nice things, and we thought, hey, like this guy, he might not be, a top tier tight end, but good enough. And then it just kind of never happened. You would see flashes every now and again. I agree. I think the contract isn't as bad as I think. It's just tough for me to justify that when I'm looking right now at two guys that were on the Panthers, Manhertz and Dan Arnold. Manhertz, basically the same exact kind of player as Ian Thomas, making way less, the guaranteed contract, and then Dan Arnold making way less. I understand there are two different types of tight ends. That's two guys that were on the team that are making less. I mean, I understand, and if the potential's there, and if Ben McAdoo can turn it around and maybe make this guy a little bit better than what he's shown, then sure, it's not a terrible contract. When I see us restructuring deals that we just did like a year ago, it makes me see things like this and just go, man, we're just really bad with managing these contracts and managing money. And it's just little simple things like that could come back to bite you in the ass. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. From what I understand, Ben McAdoo really pushed for this because of his usage of tight ends, and he knows the type of player Ian Thomas can be. But I'll say this, man. First, you look at the Chris Manhertz deal. I think Ian Thomas is a better player than Chris Manhertz. He offers a lot more as a receiver than Chris Manhertz does. Chris Manhertz is a good blocking tight end. He's not going to catch many balls. Ian Thomas, I think, is capable of catching balls. Whether he's doing it or not is, a totally different thing. And then Dan Arnold, he was a very unproven player when we signed him last year. I think he's worth more than what his contract says he's worth right now. But I think that's just because we kind of got him as an unknown commodity. We got him as a steal last year. So, like I said, I don't really hate it. And I think, and this is just me watching as a fan. I don't have any insider knowledge on this. I feel like because Ian Thomas's usage dropped off so much after his rookie season, especially with different offensive coordinators coming in who didn't really use the tight ends as much, especially him. Well, I guess he was probably the one used the most, but tight ends just weren't really featured in their offenses. I think, and I know anyone who has ever played any sport can speak to this. Confidence plays a huge role. Consistency plays a huge role. If you are a shooting guard in basketball and you miss 6 shots in a row, it's going to be hard to get hot again, right? It's going to get hard. It's going to be hard to get out of that shooting slump. It's no different with a tight end who drops a few passes. I think Ian Thomas kind of let himself down a few times. He got hard on himself. He never really recovered. I think that's part of it. And then I think some of the consistency is part of it as well. If you, let's say the same thing, you're a shooting guard, but you're ninth man on the bench, 8th man on the bench, whatever. You don't see the floor hardly ever. You see the floor once every 8 games or whatever. If you don't get the opportunity to shoot a lot of shots, and then after 2-3 games, you finally get a shot at a shot, the moment is too big and you screw up. You airball because you haven't shot it in weeks. You haven't shot in a real game in weeks. And I think it's the same thing when you're tight end, running a seam route. You haven't seen that ball come your way in weeks. Suddenly, the ball's coming at you. It's 3rd and 12, and the whole stadium's staring at you. It's easy to drop that ball. It's easy to become Mr. Butterfingers. So I think between not getting a lot of opportunities and not making the most of the opportunities he did get really affected his confidence and ultimately impacted his performance to make him the bum-ass player that we all see him as. But I think he really does have the potential to be a good player in the right system, and I think this might be the year where he gets that opportunity. I think the front office knows that. I think the coaching staff knows that, and I think ultimately that's why they felt the need to give him this contract now, because he might have a breakout year, and all of a sudden we're talking about him getting paid like these guys on the top of the list.
I think he should have went to school for sports psychology.
There's just no money in it. Is there? I don't know.
I feel like there would be.
Well, that's what they told me about every job I ever wanted to do, so I assumed that there wasn't any money in that either.
Well, I'll give you credit. If you were a salesman and trying to get me to sign Ian Thomas, I would have just bought that because that was a very good pitch. And I don't disagree with you. I think tight ends that don't get the ball a lot, the X amount of times they get the ball, they probably drop it. Get hard on themselves, things like that. But, we'll see. I mean, if he can live up to it, I'm all about it. I mean, I was a huge Ian Thomas supporter. Still am. I mean, I'm not talking bad about the guy. I just didn't like the contract and the numbers. I just feel like it could be cheaper. But if he can get better and live up to some of that hype finally and just at least be an average tight end, this deal is not that bad. And we all know we're big fans of the Tommy Tremble show. So hopefully he gets better as well.
We've always been fans of Ian Thomas too. He just always lets us down.
Exactly. I think we've done – if we go back to like the off-season show we did before this about breaking down like positions, I'm pretty sure we both were like very excited about obviously Tommy Tremble and then Ian Thomas. Like I'm still a part of the Ian Thomas train. I would love to see it finally happen, but
No, I mean, there's no argument against the way he's, played over the past couple seasons. I mean, he's just not been good enough. But at the same time, I think the reason we hold on to it is because we've seen what he can do. It just comes down to some of the things we talked about. He's just got to make the most of his opportunities. And if he can do that, and if he gets enough opportunities in this offense, he's got the athleticism, he's got the speed, he's got the ability. I mean, he's a really talented tight end, honestly. It's funny because since he's been in the league, by default, because he's been such an underachiever as a pass catcher, he's been kind of seen as a blocking tight end. But really, when he came into the league, they were like, how's this guy going to block anybody? He's too short. He's too stubby. His arms aren't long enough.
Which is really
why he's on Matt Rule's team. But that's the thing is he's overachieving in what he's supposed to be bad at. So if he could just do what he's supposed to do and start overachieving at what he's supposed to do, the potential is there for him to be a good tight end. So once I started weighing all these things, I didn't hate this deal the way I did when I first saw it, is what I'm saying.
It's really – did they really see him as small coming out? I mean, he just doesn't look like a small tight end to me at all.
Well, it's the same thing as Antonio Gates. That's part of the reason he got that comparison is he's just kind of shorter.
It's weird. He looks like a beast to me.
Yeah, well, I guess Antonio Gates isn't really shorter either, but –
Well, listen, I'm all about potential. I've seen Sam Darnold do some things that really wowed me, but we see how well that's gone.
Yeah. Speaking of not living up to your potential.
We won't get into that. I think the last topic I want to hit here is this is something that's been really brewing the past week or so. Christian McCaffrey possibly being traded. Obviously, there's a couple things we didn't touch on looking at. Shout out to Zane Gonzalez getting this deal.
2021 MVP, Zane Gonzalez. By the way, I saw some people who are actually not happy about that. contract. It was like, dude, how long have we been like ready to riot at the stadium over not having a kicker?
Yeah, I think if you're mad at that deal, you should probably not talk about football for a long time.
Yeah, dude, we finally got a kicker. 2021 MVP, Zane
Well, it
Gonzalez.
was like 2 years, like 2 million or 4 million. I mean, Jesus Christ, that's nothing in the NFL. Come on.
Well, I think what upsets people about it is we have bigger fish to fry, or we should, like Hassan Reddick and Stephon Gilmore.
But you have to have a kicker.
Which, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying
But
you. I'm just talking about these people.
Hassan Reddick, to me, I don't understand how he wasn't like priority number one for the Panthers as far as re-signing players. I get he earned a bigger contract, probably more than they're willing to pay. But I don't know, man. You had such a good thing this year with Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick getting after the quarterback. I don't know why you wouldn't try to build on that. But
That there's an asterisk near that. I love Hassan Reddick. I want him back. We saw what they did getting after the quarterback, and we saw what they did against the run. It wasn't good.
see, I agree with you, but at the same time, out of the two, I thought he was the better run stuffer. I mean, I guess this just falls back on them believing in Yetur Gross Matos, which is another guy we love on the show. So,
Which I think
who's a good run stopper himself.
he got better last year, and I think he deserves a spot to potentially start this year. And I'm not going to say the whole run game was on Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns. I think a lot of that was coaching and just putting people in the absolute worst positions possible. Also, not having the best linebacker core. Shaq Thompson had a damn good year. What's his name? I can't remember. Middle linebacker number Jermaine Carter.
Jermaine Carter.
Not, pretty middle of the pack. But there's guys I want to see come back, and again, it leads back to making bad deals and going to have to restructure to do some things. You're looking at the cornerback position. We got two guys. Everyone's saying Gilmore's pretty much gone, which personally I'm okay with. I think he's a really good player, but I think corner is the position we probably need the least help in right now. I don't want to bring back Dante Jackson. I'm sorry. He's not worth the money. Roll with J.C. Horn. Roll with, Keith Taylor and the guy we traded for.
C.J. Henderson.
Roll with them. I'm okay
Hopefully have A.J. Boye back too.
He was good whenever he played. He was a good vet, so I'm cool with that. But then you look at some things here and there, but there's still ways to go. And now, hey, these guys could all end up being traded tomorrow for Deshaun Watson, possibly. Who knows? But kind of getting back to what I was saying, Christian McCaffrey, it's such a weird and odd situation. We know Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is the absolute best offensive playmaker in all of football, non-quarterback. He's the best running back in football when he's healthy, but that's a big if the past 2 years. And I see people saying, you can't trade McCaffrey. He's our team. You can't trade this. You can't trade that. I want McCaffrey to stay. I wish he could stay healthy because obviously we keep him. But, there comes a time where, the best ability in football is availability. And we just haven't got that the past 2 years. And it sucks because I love McCaffrey. I'd love to keep him. But if you get into a situation where you could do a trade potentially, because they've been listening to trades, it's been no shying away from that. It's something that fans would have to, possibly accept. What are your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey trade?
Well, I think, obviously, as you just mentioned a couple days ago, there was the report came out or whatever that the Panthers have been listening to calls for Christian McCaffrey. And I think for it to get to that point, the Panthers wanted it to get to that point. They want the world to know that Christian McCaffrey's on the table if you call us with an offer that we can't refuse. I feel the same way you feel. We've talked about it on this show many times. We actually had another video where we talked about it. Got some backlash on it. Some people thought we were crazy for saying trade Christian McCaffrey, and obviously this was, months ago. And other people saw our point. He's never on the field. Why are we paying him all this money to sit on the sideline? If you can get a first round pick for a guy, or a second and third round pick, which like we said earlier, we don't have for a guy who's never on the field, it's hard to say no to that. And obviously, when he's on the field, he's amazing. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He's one of the best Panthers. I don't know if I can say best Panthers ever yet, because he only played a handful of years and he hasn't played most of those years. But when he's on the field, he's very, 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 very good. He's an excellent player. So I don't know. It's tough, Like you said, man, it's tough. It's tough to say we don't want this great player on our team. He's never available. I mean, at the end of the day, he's never available. And I think if you look at a team like Buffalo, if he goes over there, he would tear it up playing next to Josh Allen, playing on that offense. That defense is very good. He'll get tons of opportunities to touch the ball. He would be a superstar in that offense. Well, I guess he already is a superstar, but he would be unstoppable as a Buffalo Bill. So if I'm a team like that and I can offer a late first-round pick for Christian McCaffrey, I don't see why they would. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have offered that. I don't know why they wouldn't offer that. And if I'm the Panthers, I'm probably going to accept the trade because we're rebuilding. We need talented players. We need first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said. I could be wrong in saying this, but this is my only backlash to the trade. I look at it. I look at one team and I look at one guy who has a very, very similar ability in his team, and he hasn't seemed to. He's been hurt, but he hasn't, been to the lengths that McCaffrey has, and that guy is Deebo Samuel in the 49ers. Would a system, and I want to ask you this, would a system where, you got McAdoo, he's a creative guy on offense, from, better or worse. Would you like to see McCaffrey, instead of running the ball 30 times a game, being this gadget receiver where he runs? Obviously, he's a fantastic receiver. He probably is the best receiver on the team, but he just happens to also be the running back. Would you like to see it where a good amount of plays, and I'm not talking about just dump-offs, I'm talking about being a legit receiver, and then 5-10 times a game lining him up in the backfield and running him, and then limiting those plays where he's just running up the middle and just getting beat up, and trying to spread that out some, and then have Chuba in the backfield, maybe have him up there in the slot, and then running those type of plays, because that's what happened with Deebo Samuel a lot. He was a receiver, and then he later on in the season, he kind of transitioned to a running back / hybrid / receiver, and the guy was the most fun player to watch play football last season. What are your thoughts on something like that being more consistent?
I mean, I think if they're willing to use him that way, that'd be great. Especially, I think it'll improve his longevity. I think he could, avoid some of these injuries and stay on the field. But not only him, I've been saying for a long time, I think DJ Moore would be great in that role as well, as that type of hybrid player. And I think Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore are actually pretty similar players, especially once they get the ball in their hands. Very tough to tackle, very shifty, great runners with the ball in their hands once they get into open space. I think if you use the two of them as two hybrid players, you put them in the huddle, you don't know which one's lining up at receiver, you don't know which one's lining up at running back. They could both line up at running back, they could both line up at receiver. I think it gives you a chance to create some mismatches and do some cool stuff. And it's something I would like to see the Panthers do, but I mean, that doesn't mean I'm going to see it, but I totally get what you're saying. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, you said in the beginning, if it would likely extend his career and possibly lessen injuries, then why would they not do that? Not saying that you're the coach and you're not going to do it, but it seems like it makes too much sense for them to not do that.
I feel like the can of worms that they've opened here is, excuse me, the can of worms that they've opened here is you're paying this guy so much money to be your star running back. I think you feel pressured to use him as your star running back. You start splitting him out as receiver at receiver, and it sounds great, but well, what if they're doubling him? He's not getting open or whatever, and then the game ends, and you get 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row where he only touched the ball 3 or 4 times, and it's like, dude, we're paying this guy to touch the ball 25 times a game. You spread him out at receiver 75% of the snaps. When you put him in the backfield, you handed him the ball a few times, but we're paying this guy to carry the load on offense. And I don't know. I feel like it's a good idea, but if it starts to not work out, then you're paying a guy a bunch of money to not really make a difference. And unfortunately, money's a big factor in his case because there's been a big investment and not a lot of payoff on what the Panthers have put into this player.
I see your point, and I think that is, true to a certain extent. I think if they were smart, that they would figure out a way to not have McCaffrey touch the ball 2-3 times a game without being effective. I think that'd be garbage play calling, but it just, there's a lot of factors there, defensive scheme, so you're playing, blah, 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 whatever. But that's just something on my mind that I just feel like that could be a really good idea and take the offense to another level because it just seems like it makes too much sense. But then again, it doesn't matter as long as if you can't stay healthy, a lot to be seen. I feel like next week when we do this show, we're going to be talking about, something completely different. So
not going to say what it is, but we might be talking about something different.
We might be talking about something different. Who knows? But that's all I got for tonight, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, joining the show. Thank you for sticking with us. Jam-packed show is probably one of the best ones we've done so far. Hope everyone's enjoyed it. When this comes out, all this could be old news, and we'll come back and talk about new news.
Yeah, dude. It's a struggle. You got to get it out quick, especially in the NFL, man. Times are changing all the time, and they're changing fast.
It is. And
especially this time of year.
And real quick before I go, screw the Broncos. Even though they made a magnificent trade, I still hate them. But shout out to them. They made a move.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers bringing back Aaron Rodgers again. And then Carson Wentz and the Redskins, or the Commanders, sorry. Terrible deal. But what are they going to do? They're known for making bad splash moves. But
yeah, they definitely hit the panic button whenever they didn't land Russell Wilson, it seems like.
I mean, I would have rather rolled with Heineke for another year.
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I want to like it because I feel like the Redskins have a good the Commanders have a good offense for running the ball and throwing the play action passes to good players on the outside. So it sounds good, but then I think, oh, wait, that's exactly what the Colts were last year, and that didn't work out for Carson Wentz. So, I mean, we'll see. I guess I don't hate Carson Wentz. I don't want to see him fail by any means, but
it just pisses me off because he was basically the MVP and everybody keeps saying, oh, that was 5 years ago. I know, but it's frustrating when you see a guy who basically was getting ready to take over the league and then he just got hurt and all of a sudden he just became a walking trash can almost. It's like, it's frustrating. It's this, I don't mean to say this to be mean, but it's the same thing with Cam Newton, a guy who was a MVP a couple of years later gets hurt and he's a shell of what he used to be. It sucks.
I think the difference is a lot of it with Carson Wentz is it feels like he just presses too hard, like the whole game. Like he's just always trying to make the big play. He's always trying to do something crazy with the ball. And I think it just leads to him struggling and turning the ball over.
True. True. It's very true. But
But and also Khalil Mack got traded. So
I saw that. I feel like his first year in Chicago was amazing, and then it was like, oh my God, middle linebackers don't win games like they used to.
yeah.
And I mean, he's still a good player. I just feel like he hasn't been like the dominant force that we originally saw. I don't know if that makes. I haven't watched like a ton of Bears games. I could be wrong.
I mean, he's a beast off the edge, and now you get to pair him with Joey Bosa.
Oh, I mean, the Chargers, they're going to be legit. I mean,
So
I feel like they watch. They're like, dude, we got to play the Chiefs twice a year. The Broncos just got Russell Wilson. We got to play them twice a year. We better do something. So we got to make a trade too.
pretty much.
Good luck to all the Raiders fans out there. Sorry.
Right. The thing about it is they gave up less than we gave up for Sam Darnold. So
Yeah, well, they even give up. I never even looked at it.
it wasn't a lot. It was like a second and a fifth or something like that.
Hey, man, that's a win in my book.
Yeah.
So
So must be nice to have a real front office who can not trade half the farm for Sam Darnold.
hey, man, there's only one team that can do it, baby.
It's what we do, baby.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. If we get breaking news tomorrow about some stuff or over the weekend, I'm sure we'll hop on and do a video. But thank you guys so much, and we will catch you next week.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for listening.